Hello, and welcome to Lesson 12 of Learning Python. Now, we have gone through a wild roller coaster for today. Today is the day we start with our very first bot. Now, I'm going to start with a very simple theory called the water glass theory. It's a perfect way of learning automated trading because it's extremely simple. It's simple because it can be done algorithmically or manually. You can use any time frame or just the order book, whichever you prefer. We're going to use the order book just for simplicity and to keep our code small and simple. It's a beginning point to a lot of good trading approaches. And it really is a wonderful tool to learn by. It's also unique in that it's not time-based like many other algorithms are. Its criteria is rather simple. The amount you are holding is your volume of your purchase. If that volume goes down, you buy more. If that volume goes up, you sell some of what you bought. So let's take the context of our water glass. Our very first purchase fills up the water glass. So for our example, which you have on the screen, we have 100 units. So 100 units is our fill line. The very first purchase establishes the price and fill line, or our water glass volume. And as you can see through trading, the trading tab, the oldest unit here. Remember, this is a FIFO-based broker. So our oldest unit was 100 at the purchase price of $97.05. Now we've sold off 2 units in the process, and we've bought 2 more units in the process. So as you can see how this is actually going. And that's the whole point of the water glass. We simply maintain the volume, 100 units. So if your unit price is $1 and you have 100 units, then your volume is $100. If your volume goes up to $101, you've made a $1 profit. If your volume goes down to $99, you purchase $1 from the market. You always maintain a 100 unit volume, and that keeps you balanced. Now, it's as a manual process would go, you could check it once a day, once a week, once a month. It doesn't matter. The algorithm is really incredibly simple and forgiving. And that's what makes it really such a wonderful way to start learning algorithmic trading. So let's begin to really look at our code. Okay, here we are. I have it running, and it has been running for several days to build up information for this video. Now this is running in a virtual console. So make sure that before you begin to try this, you start your virtual console up with the screen command. Be sure to watch that video from the playlist, because this is running constantly now. So we have the date and time, and I have this set for every 5 seconds. Here is the current volume of our water glass, 9702. If the volume drops down to 9605, it will purchase more. Now these numbers are fluctuating because the spread is fluctuating. I want this dynamic, so I need to think about the spread. Remember that Oanda spreads can be 1 to 2 pips. So this spread is factored into my purchase. If the volume goes up to 9805, then I sell off a unit. Again, you will see the spread is factored in. So this is the beauty of how simple this process is. And of course, I've done some trades already. Let's get to the log file. I've made one sell that I've recorded and one buy that I've recorded. The price, the total volume either sold or purchased, and the total size, the final amount that I am actually using. And then of course my balance at the moment. On the live chart, that's this number here. Balance is important because I get to see in real time how this algorithm affects my actual bottom line. So it will run and continue running until I stop it. Always working to maintain my original water line in my glass. And that is actually recorded by the program when it first starts, if you don't already have an existing purchase. So for me, when I started this program, my original volume was 97.059. That is where I started. From there, the program adjusts up and down appropriate to the market. Now I'm using the order book only, so this number is not the closing price of the market. I didn't want to be limited by a particular time frame for this example. So this is actually the midpoint between the bid and the ask, which many people consider as good as the current closing price. But this purchase number is based upon the buying price or asking amount. And this number is based upon the bid amount, updated real time or near real time as the information is pulled every 5 seconds. Now you can pick whatever time frame you want. That's the beauty of this algorithm. Time doesn't matter. It's a wonderful place to start because you don't have to be perfect. All you have to do is keep your water line filled. Keep the volume of your asset at what you originally started with or close to it. That really makes this whole system incredibly easy to learn. And it works on any market. So let's actually list our Learning Python directory. And if you remember from the last lesson, the Oanda API functions were simply in the main program itself. Well, in this lesson, I've started to go into what you will commonly deal with when you're writing trading bots: libraries. So all of the Python code that we put together over the last several lessons is now in one file, the Oanda Library. And it has to have a .py extension, as we discovered from the Safecracker program and that video. So here we are, the actual Oanda Library. We start out with all of our system information, just as we saw in the last video. All of the Oanda information, exactly as the last video. And finally, our Oanda class. Again, nothing new from what we've been working with. Everything is straightforward, simple, and exact, just in a different file name. But we have added a few additional treats to this file. Here's the order book that we added from the last time. Now we have get position units. This is what was the addition, and this is Oanda specific. So what we are doing is we're going to Oanda and getting the number of units that we have in a given trade, or I should say a given position. In this case, we have 100 units spread across 3 trades. Oanda really does something nice for us and packages everything up into one simple system. We don't need any math or nothing. It tells us exactly what we have for either a long position or a short position, just based upon looking for the average price. If the average price is in the long position, then we have a long value. Otherwise, we have a short value, and as per Oanda's standard functionality, all shorts are negative numbers. And we simply return the number of units to the user. If we have no position whatsoever, then we return a 0. And now we're back to balance. And place order. All of the stuff that we're used to seeing from the last videos. And that's it. The whole Oanda library in one nice, simple system. So now let's actually get to our bot. Our very first bot. Okay, we remember this from the Safecracker program. And we have the standard system libraries that we need. And now we get to the fun. We load our library, but we do something different, something unique, because this is a simple program. So if you remember from the Safecracker safe hacker programs, and even previous programs. We always have to add the library dot function when we reference it. Well, there's a way around that if it's a simple situation like what we are working with. From Oanda Library, import everything at program level. That's what this means. At program level means we don't need to put the file name that the function or class we are referring to is in, because it's loaded directly into the program at its base level. And we will see exactly how that works in just a minute. This is just a little convenience routine to write out my volume if it's a brand new position. It's not really needed, but I wanted to demonstrate the principle for ease. And we use this to write out a log file. Since we aren't always going to be watching the screen, we want the important stuff saved to disk. And that's what this function does. Very simple and very easy. Now we get to the main stuff. And here we see, just like previous programs, but because of that import statement above, normally we would have to have this. File name, class. But because of that import Oanda lib, or import from Oanda lib with the star. The star means that we can use this class directly in line with the main program. We don't need to explicitly describe the file name. Now, you have to be careful with this because large libraries will turn into a very big mess. It should only be used very judiciously and cautiously because it can make things really horrible to fix. Same as before, we're simply loading the markets from the class since it's already done all of the dirty work. We want the Euro USD, but you can use whatever asset the exchange provides for your time frame and opening periods. We get the ticker, which gives us the buying price and selling price at that moment. Your bid and your ask. Now, we want 100 units. This can be whatever you want, but 100 units is what we want for this program to start with. So now we look for the water glass file, our initial position. This is what helps us decide and remember where we're at and what we're doing. Because it's possible this program could be interrupted in the middle. So if it is, if this file exists, we simply read the original value. If it doesn't exist, then we find out if there is anything on the broker already. And we purchase. So if there is something on the broker, it adds to it. If you have no position whatsoever, then you are going to purchase the amount you need. Because this is a market order, you're going to buy 100 units. at whatever the current market price is, and that becomes your water glass volume. And we find out what that price is. This tells you from your order the exact price you just paid. So that price multiplied by the units is your water glass volume. And then you write it to disk and save it. So we want our information saved to disk. So far, everything is straight out cut and dry. Nothing fancy. And that's really the whole point of this program. It's not fancy. It's very simple. Now, let's get into the actual water glass algorithm. Now, this is going to simply be a forever loop. You could do this however many ways you want, while not false, while not true, it doesn't matter. While 1 equals 1, there are countless ways of doing this. I chose this way because in the future, if we expand the program, I want to be able to possibly tell the program that yes, we are actually done. So if a certain condition comes up as I'm building this, or I just want to sell everything off for whatever profit I have, I can do so and exit the program cleanly. And that's important. So we get the ticker, we get the bid and the ask price, and we calculate the spread. Now, we already know from up above, position volume. This is the water line. This is what we need to compare everything to. But we need to calculate our current position amount. So we go to the broker and we get the number of units in our position. In this case, we're holding 100 as of this moment. Now, we take the buy price and the sell price and we simply get the average. You could go get the OHLCV data and get the closing price at the moment, but I wanted to keep this simple with only the order book. And now we know the middle volume that we're comparing is simply going to be the new volume amount, the number of units that we are currently holding times the middle price. Now this is used only for display. So as we look on the chart, this number here is not used in math. It's only used as a visual reference to help us see roughly where the algorithm is. The computer could care less, but we need to see it to make sure it's working properly. Okay, now, Oanda requires a minimum of 1 unit, period, and it's whole numbers only. So that's why when we calculate our threshold for buying and selling, we have to add 1 to the number, because otherwise it will come back as just the spread, which would be 2 pips or 3 pips or 5 pips or whatever that market is. So we want 1 unit plus the spread to stay in line with what Oanda insists is a proper amount. And now we have the buying threshold, which is simply the current position volume minus the threshold. And then the selling position threshold is simply the position volume plus the threshold. So again, display numbers only, and here it is. This is where you purchase. This is where you sell. Easy enough to see visually, but the program does not really care. And we'll see that in just a second. Because now, and this of course is just using the date time library, the date time function, and then a subfunction called now. And it gives the current time and formats it by year, month, day, and this is a 4-digit year. If you was to put a lowercase y, it would be a 2-digit year. Hour, minute, second, milliseconds. Straightforward and simple. And this is what it looks like. Nice, easy to read numbers. Year, month, day, hour, minute, second, and millisecond. Now you don't have to print the millisecond, but I like to for automated trading because the computer can move so quickly, you need to have accurate timing. Okay, first thing we do, we check the sell. So if new volume times selling price, so this gives us our total new volume. If that is greater than our positional volume, the 100 units we originally purchased, plus the threshold, plus the amount of profit we absolutely have to have, including the requirements for Oanda's minimum size. So if that's the case, and we actually have that, then remember units must be whole numbers only. So we want the integer value of the new volume minus our waterline. So whatever our amount is that we are holding above our waterline, that is what we are going to sell. Now, just in case it comes back as a fraction, we only want to sell it if it's greater than 0. So in some weird event, if it comes back as 0.98 units, that's not enough to sell, and that will cause Oanda to give an error message. We have to have a 1 or better to sell. And then we sell only that amount. So sell, and then the amount that we have. Now, sell price is ignored because we're doing market orders. But if you were using limit orders, then this would be the current market sell price. And then we get the balance. And now we calculate how much did we actually sell. The volume of this trade is the sell size times the sell price. And then we actually make the log. We put it on the screen, but we save it to the file. Now when you're working with files, in Linux you need to put a new line. In Windows you need to put a carriage return, new line. Those are minor nuances that you'll learn as you use the process with files in Linux or Windows. So save the important data to disk, print it on the screen, and this is how we want our information. We want the date and time, I need to know what's going on, so put the word sell. The current selling price. How much am I actually selling? And how many units is that actually? And my current balance. Am I making money or am I losing money? Yes, you need to know because sometimes things don't always work out the way you think they will. So it helps to have this on the screen where you can actually see if you're making money or losing money. So now we move on to buying. So if the new volume and price are less than our water line in our glass, price has gone down, now our glass is not as full. We need to fill it up. Again, because we're working with units, our units have to be whole numbers. But the difference is going to be whatever our original volume was and subtracting the current volume. That gives us how much water is missing that we need to add back into the glass. Same thing, make sure that we don't deal with any weird numbers that could slip through, and only whole units to fit Oanda's restrictions. Buy what we need. Get the balance. And here we go. Buying price and buying size. And then, of course, print the information on the screen. Show the user. But because this is a purchase, write it to the file just in case the user isn't around watching the screen. As you can see, this screen is constantly moving. So if a buy and sell happens, you're not going to see it unless you write it to a log file. And now, simply print out the information, the balance, and the information that we have. This here, this blank, this is the blank right here that would be the words buy or sell. But since we're not buying and we're not selling, then we have the blank here to hold the table in a nice pretty shape. And of course, we simply wait 5 seconds and we do it all over again. That's it, literally. Our very first spot. And it's so simple, so easy. Just fill up a glass of water and make sure that the volume and the water is at a specific level at all times. If the water line goes down, we fill it up. If the water goes above our line, we seal off that portion. This is the beginning point to a lot of good, strong, hardy strategies. Strategies that have been around for decades and have proven profitable year over year consistently. Strategies that become complicated quite quickly all start from something this simple. This is literally the whole program. And it works in cryptocurrencies. It works in stocks. And it works in Forex. Now, the whole theory and premise really came out of the stock market because it only makes sense to hold on to an asset at a certain level if you're getting dividends from that asset. So if you have a stock that's not paying a dividend, then this is kind of meaningless. Same thing with cryptocurrencies. There's no value to holding something that you're not being paid to hold. And that's what a dividend is. But if you have Iron Mountain, Walmart, Microsoft, Apple, Google, uh, Tesla, some stock that pays a dividend once a month or once a quarter, then this is great because that dividend gets factored in and it helps fluctuate your water line. But because you're always maintaining a specific number of shares or units, you have a consistent dividend every month to count on, or every quarter, whatever that asset is slated at. For example, uh, Iron Mountain pays out a dividend once a month. So if you have 100 units of Iron Mountain, or 100 shares, then you get the dividend based upon what you're holding. But you still get the ability to buy and sell and make profits in the interim. Cryptocurrencies that have soft staking, and that is where you don't have your money locked, are perfect for this kind of practice as well, because you can hold a certain level and then trade above that to ensure you get the profits and compound at the same time. So as you study the water glass theory, understand how it works, because it really is a fascinating algorithm. And it is only the beginning of what you can do. Now, I described this in detail on Patreon, so if you have that already, then you already know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read the Patreon article and you're not signed up, be sure to sign up and get that information, because it does make it easier to understand just how wonderful something this simple can be. Now, why did I start with the water glass and not a simple moving average or something more traditional? Simple. Python or any programming language is about exploration of ideas. If you're just going to use a simple moving average or some kind of traditional trading approach, you don't need to learn Python. You didn't put yourself through 12 episodes of cramming a language in your head just to do what you can go do for free off of TradingView, TradeStation, or MetaTrader 4 or 5. You're here to learn how to maximize your abilities. And the best way to do that is to learn something that can't be done otherwise. To think about the possibilities of your trading in a way that isn't normal. It isn't out of the box. It isn't cookie cutter like everybody else. It's a way of maximizing and getting your edge. And that is what makes you a profitable trader. Starting with a fresh look, fresh ideas, and fresh thinking is always the most important way to think about trading in general. This is the start, and only the start, of things that can become infinitely more than what they are. With very little work, this program can be modified to track and trade every asset on Oanda or any other exchange once you've learned how to use its API. From here, this algorithm can become a full dollar cost averaging algorithm like all of Jackrabbit TV. It can become a rebalancing algorithm like what some of the hedge funds use to maintain portfolio positions based upon X% of each one of them. It really is a phenomenally simple beginning place that has so many different opportunities. And we may continue to explore some of those opportunities as we move forward. But officially speaking, this lesson marks really the end of this series. You now have enough knowledge to write your own trading bot. You have enough knowledge to research, to think over what you want to accomplish, and to actually program a simple bot. It's not complicated if you break it down in steps. And that's really what this whole process was about. Figuring out what the steps were to give to a computer to turn your reality of trading into a real program that the computer can understand and actually implement. So that really wraps up this series. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment below. What ideas do you have that you want to explore? Now, I am going to continue the Learning Python series, but it's not going to be this aggressive. It's not going to be so slanted that it's just a huge battlement of information being literally crammed out quickly. I'm going to start breaking down individual sections and segments and ideas and concepts in smaller processes. So stay tuned for a lot of the more intricate nuances that got missed along the way, and some practical ways to use them that aren't necessarily related to trading. But at the same time, I will be showing more things that are related to trading. Until next time.